Hello. Good morning, everybody. Those who are physically here and those who are in the video conference. How was the first day? Did you work hard? I've seen a nice movie with all of you dancing in the evening. Very nice. I hope the first day was productive. So today there is a little change in the agenda. This is because we were supposed to introduce the speech of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Luigi Di Maio, but unfortunately there was a board of ministers that was called somehow in urgency in the last 24 hours. I mean, actually I have to say, I've been justified, I will be here. I'm not supposed to go, but all the other colleagues have to be in Rome this morning, so Minister Di Maio cannot join us for his presentation. So that means we have a bit more time today to work. You can start a little bit earlier, and we can maybe further make comments about yesterday. So the morning will continue this way. In a few minutes, I will leave the stage to Federica Fricano, Archie Young, and Antonio Navarra. I will introduce you a number of important issues. Maybe before moving to the next step of the morning, I'd like to tell you a few words about what we expect. Today is an important day because you're going to deliver your work. And we had a discussion before, and the discussion was dealing with the format of your presentation, your results. So we decided to leave you maximum freedom. We don't want to, impose a format. Of course, you're free to do the way you want, but maybe a small suggestion can be useful. Remember that what you will produce tonight has to be forwarded to the Prime Minister, President of the Republic, and then to the COP26, so, Antonio. So will be read by adults, decision makers. And of course, if I can give you a suggestion, your ideas, your proposals should be synthesized very clearly. The messages have to be very clear, very sharp. In general, the way we do, we have a sort of executive summary, sort of bullet-like, in which you clearly state 1, 2, 3, what you propose. And then, of course, you need a lot of background material. We know that it's difficult to synthesize in a few lines, so you can add all the materials that is needed to clarify, but please make an effort to make your messages very straightforward, very clear, very sharp, because this is what will remain in the memory of the people who will read it, okay? And of course, your facilitator, your senior collaborator will help you in synthesizing. I wonder whether you can get together, maybe choosing representatives for each table, and decide a common format. You know, 4 tables should not propose 4 different formats. It would be ideal to have a sort of unified format. So we say the Youth4Climate has proposed the following ideas, and this is the format that is sort of common. Just a suggestion, as you wish, okay? But I think this could help a lot. Okay, before I leave the stage to the colleagues, let's take 5 minutes for comments. Is anybody here who wants to comment, wants to say something? How was the experience? Something you want to tell to the colleagues? You want to raise the attention on something? Since we have a bit more time today, I would like to ask you if you're willing to come here for a few minutes and tell something that you think is relevant. Not 20 people, maybe 2, 3, because we don't have so much time. Any comment? Any issue you want to raise? Yeah. Well, let's count. Sorry. I've seen 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, maximum 6. Okay, let's take a couple of minutes each, and you get the microphone. We start with this lady here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So my name is Mai, and I'm one of the delegates from Vietnam. So some first thoughts, I guess positive thoughts first. It's been really great hearing from all of the other youth delegates, especially those in my sub-working group on food and the non-state actors working group 3. It's been a very productive debate, and I think I really appreciate, at least for working group 3, the chairs have been very open to even creating a new sub-working group where people have other ideas, so that was very valuable. However, I think one major comment I have is I would really appreciate if there's more openness about where the shared documents for other working groups are, because today we're supposed to be finalizing everything. And I understand that like by the end of the day, the chairs will have to standardize all of the working groups documents. But right now, I think access to the different documents varies a lot by group. Like for my group, I have full editing access to the sub-working group document, but talking to other delegates, I've heard that some people don't even have that. And I would like to have access also to read and be able to comment for the other working groups. So I think on the portal, it's great that we have the PDF version of the zero draft, but that's not the most updated one, of course. So I think making sure that every delegate sitting here has equal access to that, so that all of our inputs, not just in the sub-working group we're assigned to, but on other topics as well, can be voiced, is very important.
All right, thank you. I mean, honestly, with the mask, it's a little bit difficult to understand. I don't know whether I'm the only one who doesn't understand, but
No,
maybe
don't, when you speak, take away the mask just
yeah,
when speaking.
it's very hard to understand. Sorry. Anyway, thank you. I've seen, wait, there was another participant here, and then we go around.
Hello, I am Hatim Aznak from the Kingdom of Morocco. I'm very happy to join all these delegates in this event. What I need to say that thank you for Italy, because they gave the opportunity for young people around the world from developing countries to discuss and put this suggestion in the table. Today, we need a sense of responsibility. That's why in my group, I try to discuss with them a lot of challenges that are important for my country and my continental, also Africa, migration, and other challenges today that fighting climate change. That's why we should to have this sense of responsibility. We should to act for climate change because we're acting for our life. That's why we should to go out from this room with not only suggestions, but a sense of responsibility. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've seen, there's a third lady here, and yeah, I've seen the red one, and I've seen there. If you're fast, we can collect a number of short contributions. Please.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and I also thank all my co-delegates who are doing an amazing job and with all the brilliant ideas that you're putting forth. I was wondering about the output from this conference. I think we're really grateful that it's going to be presented to ministers at the pre-COP, but I was wondering, how is this output going to be treated at COP26 in Glasgow? Is there going to be time for ministers to discuss it? Will there be some kind of follow-up to what they actually take forward? I think we would all appreciate some clarity on how this will be treated ahead. Yeah. Thank you.
That is a very good point. Thank you for rising. You know, Alok Sharma, the president, will come here. I think will join us tonight or tomorrow. I'm not sure. But anyway, tomorrow we'll be here. And of course, we're going to discuss this. Obviously, by the time your document will be forwarded to the COP26, and that's why I was inviting you, try to find a nice format, you know, very, very unified, very professional. Of course, there will be a follow-up. We will discuss this with Alok tomorrow. So for sure, you're going to get a clear answer, okay? Go ahead. I see a colorful shirt.
Already on? Okay, sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Nisa, and I am the delegate of Libya, one of the delegates of Libya. And what?
Maybe take it with the mask. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You cannot hear. Okay.
Much better.
Okay. So the thing that I want to talk about, or the thing that I want to discuss, is the fact how is this going to be different than the last COP, or like since the Paris Agreement, because as you know, the UN is mostly in charge of this event, and it's a non-binding party. Libya has actually agreed to Paris Agreement and everything, but it wasn't ratified until like a month ago, which is ridiculous. So what I'm trying to say is, how are we going to make sure that this time it's going to be different? In my committee, the fashion committee, in the non-state actors, The vision, we tried to add this as much as possible. We tried to think of so many ways to make this binding, which is almost impossible because of the ambiguity of international law. It doesn't allow you to do that. It doesn't allow you to hold countries or actors, non-state actors, whatever, accountable. Like, we tried our best, and in the end, we decided that we want to add a pillar within a committee that's already existing within the UN, to attempt to hold these people accountable. But if they don't agree to it in the next COP, then it's useless. Then if we're giving the options for country to completely ignore everything, it's as if we were just wasting our time. So this is the thing that stresses me the most about the entire event, and this is the thing where I want to invite all of my colleagues to try in their documents to make it as binding as possible.
Yeah, so that's a very good point. Thank you. You're pointing out something very, very important, that is the inhomogeneity of the international community. I mean, even in Europe, that is relatively, in which cohesion is quite clear. We do have differences that sometimes make difficult to have a unified vision, unified action. I wonder how this can be with 190 countries in the world. So you're perfectly right. However, that is a point that you young guys should unanimously raise. And maybe your document should also, as you said, point out that this is a problem that in the future will be very important. We need to fix it. So the fact that you can identify the problem, you can question, you can argue against this thing, is very important. Make this very clear. It could be, you know, one bullet in my specific language in this sort of executive summary. This is a very important point. We cannot close our eyes about that. So push. Thank you. Yeah, it's your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Rose, and I'm a representative from Uganda. I'm in working group 2 on sustainable recovery, and I'm also co-facilitating the subgroup on tourism, which I think we're really doing well in terms of inclusion and hearing everyone. But after the end of yesterday, I had a chat, I had a mini meeting with most of the African delegates, and some of them were happy with what is happening, but a number of them were feeling that their voices were not being heard, and they were also feeling that the document wasn't actually representing some of the lived experiences in African countries, and the document was mainly representing the developed countries. So I think all the working groups should try to be inclusive as possible and allow our other voices to be heard in those documents. And because if you leave out those critical voices, then it means that they won't go to any other events. And also, I'm thinking that as the youth and other working groups, we should think about what happens after this event. Is it going to be the end of everything, or are we going to proactively work together on these important topics, or actually start on projects? And I don't know if there are other arrangements to support the youth that would like to continue with this.
Yeah, thank you for pointing out. Well, you know, I fully understand you. I can see this at any level. This is an exercise of proactive democracy, and whenever you have to end up with a joint document, you have to find a sort of compromise. The document should represent everybody, but as such, it has to be somehow an average of the needs, of the demand. Yeah, this is the difficult task of proactive democracy. It's the most important thing for the civilization anyway. So I'm sure you will do a good job. Should you need more, we're going to discuss this. We will do more. But I think this is the first time you are all around the table, right? And this is the first time you make such a big, large-scale exercise. I'm sure you will find yourself the solution by maybe 90%. The remaining 10%, we'll see. We can do something. If we can do something, we will do it. Promise.
Hello, I'm Reem from Iraq. I am in Working Group 3. I'm the co-facilitator for the arts subgroup. And I think that our experience so far was very positive for our subgroup. We were able to really work together and to come up with a lot of the proposals we wanted. I think one thing we should really focus on is is to not make our points in the draft or in the final document just be suggestions. We don't want to give suggestions and ideas. We want concrete proposals. We want to send a clear message that this is exactly what we want. These are the points, these are the proposals we are going to send. And I think we need to try to make them time binding to convey the urgency of our proposals. So I think my question is, how can we assess the correct timing to make them time binding? Like what kind of, how many months or years we can put on each proposal for it to be realistic?
Well, okay, thank you. Generally speaking, so generally speaking, when you make long-term proposals or very visionary proposals, as I'm sure you will do, you normally accompany the proposal with a sort of roadmap. The roadmap is ideal, obviously. In general, you say, this is the vision. The way we should accomplish our vision is within 3-4 years whatsoever. Depends on the specific context, in the specific situation. Then you say, I expect specific milestones at specific times. That could be part of your proposal, and of course it's sort of an indication. It cannot be precise. But I think those who will evaluate and accept your proposals, they have to take into account the roadmap you propose. So the roadmap is part of the proposal. And of course the roadmap has to be realistic. It depends on, I don't know, money, local circumstances, and many other things. But of course, a roadmap is always very welcome when you make a visionary proposal. I think this is something you have to drive. Do it. And I'm sure people will take this into account very seriously. I mean, in the end of the day, in 1 month time, this thing will be read by the decision makers. So I think you can really have an impact. Look, guys, I see you have very clear ideas, very mature points of view. You've been raising very important points. So extremely impressed, very grateful for your points of view. Maybe we'll have another round in, there's another person who wants to talk. 3. Okay, let me see. Let's see with the time. Yeah, but this is good. I like. In the end of the day, we're missing a talk with speech. So we do have. Okay, let's take.
One more.
No. Too many. We have 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes. Okay. 1, 2, 3,
Hello,
4,
everybody.
5, 6, 7, 8. Guys, I give you 1 minute each, and I can get 5 contributions. So I think one guy here I've seen. The lady there, I've seen 2 at the bottom and another one here. We will have a second chance, possibly. Promise.
So, good
1
morning,
minute each,
everybody.
Okay? I saw the guy with the blue jeans jacket. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's not personal.
Yeah, thank you so much. So just for making the point really quick, I think it's great that we are 400 delegates from all the world gathered here, but at the same time, we cannot pretend that we are representing the entire youth of the world. I also feel like it's really difficult to actually tackle such a complex theme as the climate crisis in 2 days. So my proposal is there any mechanism that we can implement to actually make this document not a solid one, but a vivid one, that even though when we leave Milan, we can still work on it, that we can share with our youth networks around the world. And as long as the climate politics get development, COP26 happen, some failures happen, some accomplishment happens, we can still work in this document and make it something vivid, fluid, that is changing along with time and changing with different inputs from young around the world. So it's something not only from Milan, but something that will continue in time and space.
You inherently have to consider that you represent a large community, and unfortunately, this is a sort of a bottom-up representative team, because, yeah, that is how it was started. But I mean, if this will be the proposal of the young people, it can be improved, it can be circulated around a worldwide community, and it can be better and better. What I recommend is that you start today with your document, and this can really circulate, and you can collect contributions, new ideas, and you can improve the document. It's a rolling document. It's always like this. At least till we will have a different governance system. But at the moment, you start with this important document, and you improve it continuously, and you have all the digital tools to do this. It's the most pragmatic way. I don't have any other solution, okay? The girl there, I remember. 1 minute, eh?
Thank you very much for the floor. My name is Evgenia Hamilou, and I am the delegate of Cyprus. So yesterday, we spoke with the UN Youth Envoy about the importance of implementing the multilateral agreements that we already have in place, and not necessarily reopening negotiations, let's say. Personally, I am from Cyprus, which is a divided country. So essentially, the government doesn't have effective control over half of my country. But the birds fly, the fish swim, the air is the same. So when, let's say, we commit for Cyprus to reduce CO2 emissions, we don't take into account half of the island. So what do we do about divided societies? How can we really convince our governments to take concrete action in case of conflict? Because conflict is everywhere in the world. I'm sure it's not just an issue for Cyprus. So what do we really need to do in this case, that those cases are really politically sensitive? So what would be your advice? Thank you.
Yeah. Το ξέρω Κύπρο, γυναίκα μου είναι Ελληνίδα. Ξέρω πολύ καλά. Back to your point, yes, you are in a very difficult situation because your island is sort of fragmented. Let's see this positively. You know, Turkey has recently stated that they are going to align to the Paris Agreement. Let's take this as a very good starting point. I wonder whether this will be maybe one of the first steps towards an easier life. I don't say unification, but an easier life in Cyprus. The fact that the Turkish government has moved forward to the Paris Agreement is very important. So maybe you will benefit this in your place. I wish you the very best. Ce ne sono due ancora. Only two. And I forgot, yeah, the girl down there, I think is raising the hand since a long time. Another one here, and then it's finished, guys. I'm sorry. This was absolutely not planned, but since we had a bit of time.
Thanks a lot. I'm Maria from Romania, and this is actually just a comment to everyone. It's just a reminder that we are all change makers and we should not wait solely for the government actions. And I've seen some amazing inputs as a co-facilitator in the National Sub-Working Group, and nothing stops us from already implementing these initiatives and programs. So for whoever is interested in collaborating at regional level and national level, please contact us and we will make sure that we will implement these initiatives together. And do not forget that we are all here to make a change, so the change does not only rely on only institutions, it's also us. So good luck, everyone.
Last one, the girl there, and then, I'm sorry, we have to finish.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elsie Milan, and we're in Milan, and I'm representing Lebanon in the Middle East. So first of all, I want to thank you for giving us, as Middle Easterns, this platform to be here and be active members of this conference. Thank you for giving a role to women. This was a very good experience. I was a co-facilitator. So I was a co-facilitator in the financial flows and sustainable recovery. And thank you also for the government. Now, this question goes to you, actually. Well, in my government, the officials are totally deaf. They don't want to listen to us. They don't want to implement change. So what is your advice to us? I'm an engineer. I have proposals. I wish I had one official like you in my government to help the young people like me. So what is the ultimate advice you can give us to break this wall and make the change we want? Thank you so much.
So, I believe that when you cannot break the wall from inside, go from outside, what you're doing now. It will be the international pressure that possibly will convince all politicians all around the world that things have to change. This is the only suggestion I can give you. Go through the external voices. What we are doing today, what you're doing today, it can be the only way. It's really what I would say also to my children. It's the only way. Guys, I will talk to you later, because I promised we were stopping. But I'll come to you. I want to discuss a bit more in detail this issue about the African things that your colleague said. You give me one second and I come. So, thank you. This was absolutely unexpected, but very nice. We now leave the word, I leave the word to the three colleagues that are running the negotiation and all the job, and I'm very grateful to the organizer, in particular Federica Africano, to whom I will leave the stage now, and then we'll follow Archie Young, the UK lead climate negotiator on behalf of UNFCCC, and then Antonio Navarra, who's a colleague and a friend from the IPCC, the Climate Center for Research Climate Center, the focal point for Italy. So they will come to the stage and tell you the rest. Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. And sorry, we didn't want to cut you short, but we know that since you are asking them, to come forward with a document and with a straightforward document, so we also need to give them space for finalizing that document. So I will cut short my interventions. We know each other. We've been working together since a long time through the web series, through the meeting that we had virtually. There is only one example that I want to give you on how we could bring some elements, some suggestions, priorities, and actions, as was highlighted by some of you, to the next stage. Beside the fact that tomorrow you will present your document to the minister, and as Minister Cingolani just highlighted, the important, you will have 5 minutes each group to present the result of your work. So you need to be very precise, very straightforward in your ask to the minister, and then it will be on our side, to speed up the discussion and the exchange, a productive exchange, and even asking to champion some of your suggestions. As we said also yesterday, it's not only climate change, it's also sustainable development. Many of the issues that you highlighted yesterday in the plenary belongs not only to climate change, but to the general issues of environment, sustainable development. So it's not only the UNFCCC process that do matters on these issues, there are other processes, and this is also our intention, to bring your voice and the result of your work also to these other international processes. One example, there is one action within the UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement, which is the agenda for the action for climate empowerment. You know that at COP26, and I think my friend Archie will talk about what will happen at COP26, there will be a discussion on the program of the action for climate empowerment. And this is exactly an example where we could use some of the issues that I heard you are discussing yesterday night. You highlighted those: education, empowerment, science, how we could bring some of your ideas, some of your priorities in that document. Just to give you a small example of the opportunities that we might have together. And today I remember that there is a very important event after lunch exactly on education. I'm very attached to the issues of education. I'm personally attached to the issue of education because I think that changing the minds, making understanding the importance of the challenges that we will face in the future start from being educated to understand those challenges. So it's very, very important to bring this in the school at each level, and also because sometimes you teach also to your parents. So things always, good things always come from the young. And said that, I will cut short and immediately give the floor to the UK lead negotiators, but also my very good friend Archie. Archie, you have the floor.
Thank you, Federica, and buongiorno, good morning, everybody. It's great to see so many familiar faces, even with the masks, and great to see you in person as well. As Federica said, I am the UK's lead climate negotiator, and I hope that from the discussions you've been having, you now have a better sense of the joy of my life, of trying to bring together 197 parties and find consensus among them to drive forward climate action. That is our task for COP26. That is my task, and we really value all of your support and all of your experience and expertise to help us get there. Can I say a huge thank you to Federica, to Alessandro, the whole of the pre-COP team, also, of course, to Minister Cingolani for all of the efforts that have gone into making this conference possible. Bringing people together at a time of COVID is incredibly difficult, but as we've seen, incredibly necessary. So I just really want to say thank you to them for all of their work on that. But can I also thank all of you, because I know that traveling at these times is not easy either, and I have been trying to visit quite a lot of countries to press forward work on the negotiations. So I know how many times you have all been tested to get here. I know how difficult it has been to sort out all of the documentation. But thank you. Thank you for the extraordinary efforts that you have gone to be here. And thank you, very simply, for continuing to stand up for what you believe in. And thank you for continuing to make a difference. And I say that because that's what drives all of us. I know sometimes you see representatives from governments as being separate or somehow being part of a system, but actually we are like you. My team, the presidency team, we are absolutely committed to driving forward climate action. Many of us have worked on climate change for many years in different sectors. We even have some previous youth activists in our team who continue to make sure that our conscience is pointing in the right direction. And I think it's really important that we have that diverse range of views in our team. But of course, it's important that we have the full diversity of views from all countries, from all ways of life, all contributing to the process. Because we need more action. And I think Alok Sharma said that very clearly yesterday. We need more urgent action from governments, from institutions, from businesses, from civil society, from individuals. And I'd like to pay tribute to the delegate from Romania for her call to arms that she made just now. Yes, you have very strong messages for governments, but also you have very strong messages for each other. And what I see over these conversations is people sharing ideas, insights, suggestions for how to take the work forward, which doesn't just rely on governments. So thank you. On a personal note, I really wish that my kids were here today. So I have two kids. Evelyn is 7, Edward is 5, and they would love this, partly just the amazing lighting and everything else, but also because my daughter has become incredibly interested in what is happening to the world around her. And I think that actually all of you take a lot of credit for that, because she learns from young people. She picks up what she hears, and the other day, we were walking down the street and she tugged on my arm and she said, "Daddy, I have decided what I want to be when I grow up." Okay. I think when I was 7, it might have been a taxi driver or astronaut, I'm not sure. And she said, "Daddy, I want to be a scientist. And I want to develop and invent new biodegradable plastic so that the seas don't clog up with plastic waste." I thought, okay. Wow, okay. And like I say, all of you take the credit for that, because she is listening to your voices. I wish she listened to me. She doesn't, right? But she listens to you. And the work that you are doing, both in terms of climate action, but also on action on climate empowerment, like Federica mentioned, to make sure that climate change is part of our education systems, to make sure that it's part of public participation is there. I think that is all incredibly valuable for us. And that consciousness, that greater appreciation of what we are doing to the planet, the impacts that we are already seeing around the world, that gives me hope. And I get that hope from all of you. I've been doing this job for a number of years, but the energy that I see in this room today and that I saw all of yesterday, it's incredible. And I really hope that we don't leave that energy here. We need to take that energy back to our capitals, back to wherever you live, and fill other people with that same energy. Because you are the people with the solutions, you have the ideas, you have the hope, you have the impetus. And I think that Sometimes my fellow negotiators have been working in the UNFCCC for many years, and we need that renewed impetus. We need to be reminded what we're doing this for. And I know that it can be hard to see progress. And I know that at times it can be frustrating. We are talking about unprecedented systemic change around the world. This is not happening overnight, but I do think there is hope. So over 10 years ago, I worked in our Department for Energy and Climate Change, and I was working on looking at the different subsidies we might need to put in place to incentivize the take-up of renewables. And it was really difficult getting those calculations right. But now, 10 years on, since then, the cost of renewables has fallen by 80 to 90%. It's no longer a case of trying to find what is that right subsidy. It's a case of the market is doing this itself. So actually then, where can we put public finance to better use? Whether that is on adaptation, whether that is on dealing with the impacts of climate change, or whether that is innovative first loss mechanisms. Also, in the shorter term, when the UK took on the incoming presidency, I think just under a third of the world had made net zero commitments. Now, over 2/3 of the world have made net zero commitments. That is progress. Now, I know that for myself, for many of you, net zero feels like a long way away, and we need that short-term urgent action that really will keep us within track of 1.5 degrees. And that's why for COP26, we have also been focusing, of course, on nationally determined contributions, but also on the sectoral policies, the short-term actions. We have dedicated individual days at COP to different sectors to give a platform to the electric vehicle manufacturers who are moving quicker than ever people thought possible, to the parts of business or society, to civil society, to institutions who are proving actually the art of the possible and really pushing things forward rather than waiting for governments. And I think that, when we do look at how those different sectors add up, we can, like I say, take some hope that the change is happening, but it's also a reminder that it needs to be further and faster. And it also needs to take place in sectors that the UNFCCC doesn't always cover. And that's why I was really pleased to see that some of you are discussing issues like tourism or fashion, which doesn't have a natural home in the UNFCCC process, but which are all important parts of tackling climate change. Now, I can see from the text that you are bringing together that you have been talking about the collaborative ethos that we strive for in the climate world. I've seen reference to multi-sector approaches, stakeholder engagement, cross-linkages, capabilities, intersectionality, inclusive participation. These are great buzzwords, right? But actually what I've seen is you putting them into practice. And what I've seen is, and I hope what you have taken from this, is that that is how we work together. That is how we build consensus-driven language, which can then lead to action. And I think what I see is that you're all pro-negotiators already. And if any of you are coming to Glasgow, I'm sure we could put you to good use. But all the policy issues that you have been discussing link very well with the 4 COP goals. You've heard them before, so I won't go into them in detail, but reducing emissions to keep 1.5 degrees in reach, dealing with the impacts of climate change and scaling up the efforts and profile of adaptation and loss and damage, mobilizing the finance to deliver, and enabling the collaboration across sectors that is necessary to make all of that happen. Now, in the negotiations, we are committed to addressing every mandate that has been given to us, and there are a lot. And as we do so, we will respond clearly to the will of parties to take forward work on all issues so that no issue is left behind and no individual, no party is left behind. That is no easy task, but we are committed to an inclusive COP. At these COVID times, that is difficult. So when we took on the incoming presidency, we did not foresee that we would also be doing a major global vaccine rollout to enable participation at COP. But those are some of the steps we have had to take in order to make sure that we can hear from all voices at COP. And this event is critical on that path. Your voices, your solutions must be heard at COP26. Now, there was a question earlier about how do we do that? So you will have seen the joys of a consensus-based process. So your inputs will be put and made part of that process. We have committed that we will hold a day which is where we talk about action on climate empowerment and where we provide an opportunity, a platform for all of your proposals to be discussed. But at the same time, we cannot commit to how your governments will respond to those. So that is why the point that was made about actually when you leave here, please do continue to raise the points that you're making. Please do continue to engage your governments to make sure that your voices are heard so that we can then bring this into the process as appropriate as you would expect in a party-driven process. Other elements which I think are important to that inclusive nature of COP26. So we are committed to advancing the Gender Action Plan that was agreed at COP25. We are hosting a Gender Day at COP26 to galvanize commitments. Like I said, there's the Youth and Public Empowerment Day. Action on climate empowerment, like Federica mentioned, Youngo have organized a bespoke ACE Youth Forum this summer, and I want to pay tribute to them for the work on that, and that is a really important part of the process for how we can agree a new work program on action on climate empowerment. I know that the Youth4Climate text that I have seen strongly recognizes Indigenous peoples and people with disabilities, and I think it's really helpful to have those voices coming through loud and clear, and I'd like to thank you all for that continued pressing on the importance of inclusive action. I recognize, as some delegates have said, it's not easy to take those messages back to your home government, but please do, and please feel empowered to do so. Your work does not end when you leave here. So I hope that you have learned from this experience. I continue to learn every day in the negotiations. I find it fascinating. Thank you for bearing with me, setting out some of our hopes and expectations for COP. But as we heard this morning, this is about you, this is your moment. So I just wanted to end where I started, thanking you for sharing your expertise, your insights, your energy, your passion. We recognize that you, young people, have the local knowledge, the existing relationships, as has been mentioned, the networks, and the diverse groups that can actually lead to practical solutions on the ground. You can find the solutions, you can help point the way for us. So thank you for that. And on behalf of my team, on behalf of my kids, on behalf of all of us working on COP26, thank you again.
Thank you, Archie, all over. Thank you for highlighting the work that the UK is doing in preparation for COP26. I commend you for the hard work that you are doing in trying to involve everybody, in being transparent, in consulting extensively every country. As you were highlighting, it's not always easy. To find the right compromise, because at the end the negotiations are about compromise. You have your ideas, you have your priorities, you want an achievement, but there are many others that have other priorities and other achievements. So at the end what you have to find is the right compromise in order for everybody could live with it. So we always say, if everybody is dissatisfied with an agreement, then the agreement is okay. So, said that, I now will give the floor to our friend from the from the Mediterranean Center. Antonio is our focal point for the IPCC, and he will make a brief presentation on the IPCC. Antonio.
Well, good morning, world. And, I'm supposed to present you the climate system. That is sort of interesting for this audience. And so I thought that I would do that very quickly. So this is the climate system. It's a mess. It's all complicated, interconnected. There's water, ice. It's a complete complication. And we are messing with it. We are changing the composition. You have seen the picture on the right 1 million times. You have seen the picture on the left maybe 10,000 times. It shows that the present level of CO2 are higher than the last 1,000,000 years. probably you have not seen this picture that says that we have indirect evidence that the present level of carbon dioxide are higher than the last 40 or 50 million years. Now, that's a refreshing thought. Huh? It's really difficult to grasp what 40 or 50 million years are, but now we're putting the planet in a very exceptional situation. And when you are in an exceptional situation, exceptional things happen. So we should not be surprised. So so the temperature is rising. I don't need to preach this to you. I think that's very well known. What we have found out is that the climate system is not only messed up in the way that we think, it's also interconnected with what all we're doing. And so now we're thinking of the climate not just as atmosphere and oceans and motions and forces, but it's so interconnected with our social dynamics and what we do. Then now we're thinking of a human climate system that connects everything. And that's, of course, if the preceding problem was complex, this one is 10 times more complex. Because every time you put humans in the pictures, things become much less clear. So the other thing we discover is that once you do that, once you put together the natural world and us, then the moral issues comes into play. And then the biosphere then gets connected with justice and inequality and issues of balance and redistributions. And so the two things now gets connected. What we do on the social side impacts on the biosphere, on the behavior of the natural system. And the natural system impacts on what are the equilibria in our society, in our communities. So this is where we stand. We have opened the Pandora's box. So we have discovered that we are in front of a problem that is many, many order of magnitudes more complicated than we ever thought. So what can we do? Well, we can do adaptation or mitigation, and you all experts. Mitigation, that's what we're discussing here. That's what all the negotiations are about. Adaptation is a recognition that some climate change will happen, no matter what. And so if we have an idea of what is the range of events that may happen, then we may act, may actually design policies, design strategies, and find measures that would help us to mitigate the bad impacts of climate change. Why not? Maybe grasp some of the opportunities. There is opportunities in change also. So we need to know. But then, at the heart of all this is exactly that, is knowing, right? So how do we know? And that's tricky, because we need a scientific consideration of climate. But how we apply the scientific program to such a complex system? Science operates by reduction. They take a very complicated system that toss things away until they arrive at an exquisite point where a single statement or a single experiment can actually change your vision of the world. That's what we call crucial experiments. What we see here is a photograph of a famous experiment. It's an experiment by Michelson and Morley. If you know what it is, great. If you don't know what it is, it doesn't matter. What matters to me is that everything is on that table. So, Michelson and Morley were talking at lunch, and they said, well, why don't we go into the basement and change the world? And then they go down into the basement and make the experiment and change the world. That's a crucial experiment. Now, I would like to make a crucial experiment for climate very, very much. I'm particularly interested in the Mediterranean Sea, that our calculations show is drying up about 2 meters every year. So I would like to close Gibraltar and see if the Mediterranean really dries up 2 meters a year. That's a wonderful experiment. But Federica doesn't allow me to do that experiment. So the question is, how can I apply the science program if I cannot make experiments? It's a big issue. So we were very lucky because we were able to construct visual representation of our planets. If I want to make an experiment, I have to make many Earths. I would like to have many planets, and then I can make, I can sort of tangle with it. But I can construct virtual representation of our climate and then make those experiments. That's what the numerical models that are at the heart of the IPCC work are. So with these numerical models, we can construct artificial virtual representation of the functioning of our planet, not only the natural part, but we also try to do that for even the economic and social part with some limitations, strong limitations. So these models will tell us information of what may happen in the future. That's a basis for adaptation. So every generation of this model is like a telescope for astronomers. You know, every time there is a bigger telescope, they're all happy because they can see farther in the universe. Well, every model for us can allow us to see farther into the climate. So it's a very important issue, a very important development. It's the only one that allows us to apply the science to this complex problem. But adaptation has limits. If Netherlands goes underwater, and we may convince the Dutch cows to do this. But I'm not sure what will happen to the quality of the cheese, for instance. So adaptation has limits. We cannot deal with climate change just with adaptation. That's why the international negotiations are so important. We need mitigation. And what are the consequences, realistically, looking forward? We really have two alternatives in front of us. Either climate change will be an amplifier. Climate change will amplify things. Will amplify good things, it will amplify bad things. So either we'll enter a world where we're going to have increasing conflicts for resources, increasing conflicts for space, for better life, for better economic situation, development, or raw materials. Or we enter an era of cooperation, of solidarity, of fighting together against a common problem. That's the alternative we have in front of us. Actually, the alternative in front of you. So it's entirely depending on us. So my message is very simple. This is based on science, so trust science, embrace science, get involved in science. We need your talent, your creativity, your intelligence, and as you take the world by storm, science is your endless frontier.
Thank you very much, Antonio, for giving us a glance of your work. I wouldn't stop you on doing some experiments. I never said so. So you can go ahead. Let's see what's happened.
Okay, I'll be happy to.
Okay, so now we come to a close to this plenary. After the closing of the plenary, we are asking you to go directly to the working group. You have a lot of work still ahead of you, and we will reconvene the plenary tonight to see, hopefully, the conclusion of our work for the big day of tomorrow. In terms of tomorrow, I know that I'm very boring, but I have to remind you some issues. Please, today, please go and take your test. You have an entire day until 7 tonight. Take 5 minutes to go down and take your test. It is important for two things. You will get the test. Your name is already registered, so you don't have to go under the registration again. You just have to go your test. You don't have to wait to result because you are already covered. But you need the test, which lasts another 48 hours to take the plane, because you won't be allowed to take your plane in coming back. And you need the green pass, and you need also the PRC, I always forget how it's called, the PRC for entering your country. They won't allow you to go back to your country if you don't have the PRC. So please do that. You have an entire day, take 5 minutes, go down at the entrance and take your test. Thank you very much, and sorry for being very boring, but it's for your own safety. Thank you very much, and good work.